Hey, Urfreshtv Sport, V10 here. I have a very, very special guest, ex-professional, community mobile almost. He's doing a lot in the game, in the scene right now. Mr. Moses Swaibu, how you doing, my bro?
Yeah, man. Thank you for having me on the show, man. I just wanted to say I appreciate not only speaking to you guys, but, you know, I totally respect what you're doing. And I remember you guys came to watch our game against SC Dons for Rocker.
Yeah.
And I was pissed, man. Like, after the game, I was mad. I was mad still.
Oh, I can understand the passion.
Yeah, man. And when I spoke to you guys, I was like, that's not really me. That's not my character as well. So I always turned around and said, listen, man, whenever you guys reach out or, you know, whenever it's time for us to sit down and speak, man, I owe it to you guys just because of how you guys come across, and I respect everything you're doing. So thank you, man.
No, I appreciate that, man. Obviously, I appreciate you taking time out. And to be honest, from when we started this, although obviously that first game, obviously you was angry that you lost it. It's a game you shouldn't have lost as well, to be honest with you.
Was that your first time filming, yeah?
That's the first time we filmed. Not filmed the game, the first time we went to see Dons. And we never really filmed. We just came to watch and just catch the atmosphere and catch little bits and pieces.
Oh, okay. Then you got an idea of what your angle's going to be.
Exactly.
Oh, that's proper sick, man.
Yeah,
man.
You
know what? That was our first home game. Obviously, we've had a name change, innit? So that was our first home game. First time we're playing, obviously, Dons in that league as well. So the atmosphere of the two teams is always going to be great. Obviously, we didn't get the result, but I think for the spectator watching it just goes to show how far Sunday leagues come, really.
100%. And to be honest, that game was an eye-opener for me in terms of the level. Because obviously I've seen that Sunday league teams where they got like one or two players, you know, they're good players. You can tell they can play at a decent standard. But that game there is when I realized like this is a different level. Even the information you was giving your players on the sideline.
You're standing right next to me, innit?
Right,
oh,
yeah, I heard you. Like literally, the information was so on point. You don't even get that information in non-league sometimes. Put it that way, and it was just it was really impressive. But I wanna talk about you first and foremost. Obviously, you've had over 150 appearances at a professional level, and it seems like you're heavily invested in player education, community projects, and just player development from a youth standpoint. I just want to know, like, where does that passion come from? Is it your experience as a player that has made you want to put that energy into that field particularly? Like what is it specifically that makes you want to do that area of the game?
No, go on, finish.
I was going to say, with your experience, you could probably go on and do a lot of other things, to be honest with you. You could go deliver sessions. Like, I think you do deliver sessions at like professional clubs, but you still seem heavily invested in the community and the youth especially. So I just want to know like where that comes from, kind of thing.
You know what? If I'm going to be honest with you, I don't think I've said this publicly before, but a lot of the passion and the energy that I give to not only the community, but a lot of these players, and not only from where we've come from and seeing players like grassroots and amateur, it's been from my time in prison, if I'm going to be honest, man.
Okay.
And I think that's probably, in regards to lessons in life, that's probably one of the best lessons I could have ever learned in regards to understanding not only myself better as a person and that as well, but what my true value is. And for someone that's, you know, been so privileged and so humbled with not only making it from nothing, and I know it's so cliche in saying it, but, you know, growing up in taking myself to football, travelling to county, going like all up and down London, these are things where you hit an ultimate low in your life and you start remembering certain aspects of, well, hold on, like, why did I even start playing football? Why did I do this? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So all these people that invested in me when I was young, and obviously my point being in prison, I said to myself, you know what? When I come out, like, the best thing that I can do is just share not only my story and my experience as well, but I've got something that's obviously quite unique in regards to what happened to myself, and, you know, retiring from football at 24, going to prison, being in the public eye, obviously for the wrong things, but it really comes down to how much can I give back, you know? And I've always turned around and said, it doesn't matter whether I'm delivering the same type of education to every Premier League club, and obviously now we've been doing it for 4 years with my own company now, and me going back and speaking to these kids, because I sat in their shoes one time asking the same questions that they're asking. How do I make it? How do I get there?
Yeah.
And no one told me or no one told us, like, right, this is what you have to do. There weren't no Urfreshtv around.
Yeah.
There weren't no rocker seniors around. There weren't no older people that were experienced in life that can turn around and be like, right, you know what? This is like the business, or this is what you need to do. Or, you know, obviously I've had an older brother that's been so significant in my development. And obviously now it's like me investing in my friends and the people around me, if I'm going to be honest. So a lot of my friends, and I was never from the roads or I wasn't doing nonsense, but I knew people that were. And from young, like literally from like year 7 time, I was like, right, you know what? That's not really something that I want to do. I want to go down. Yeah. And whereas my parents live 2 ends of Southeast London, I was always getting buses and trains everywhere as well. So I saw a completely different development from a lot of people my age and my peers as well. So that's helped me a lot. And I think with what's happening now in football, times have changed, but my story is still relevant 10 years after it's happened, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But I remember, like, when I went and done my first session that I'd done at Manchester United, and I never really took it serious, because I think when I came out of prison, I spoke to the PFA and the FA, went and got my ban, obviously, from football, which I knew I was getting anyway. And they were like, look, obviously, we need help in regards to what's happening. This can never happen again in English football anyway. How's this happening? And I was like, well, you know what? It kind of, it was a light bulb moment. And I was like, well, you know what? Just like how you're planning your Urfreshtv, I sat down and I told myself, you know what? That's the route that I want to kind of go down, man.
Yeah, no, that's big. And I think obviously for people coming up from where we've come from, to see somebody that's kind of been there, done it, and also a lot more relatable in terms of the life they're living. It's a lot more motivational for them to hear it from someone like you that's experienced it. And when you give them advice, I'm sure that it's easier for them to maybe take it on board. Whereas if it's coming from someone that they can't relate to, it's hard for it to be taken on board in the way it should be, if that makes sense. But I want to touch on South London now, because obviously you're from South London, I'm from South London, and we're known to produce a lot of extremely talented footballers. I just wanted to know, like, what is it about South London that creates or produces these type of footballers? Like, so there's so much talent, and obviously I'm going to go on to another segment of that after. But just to start on that, like, what is it about South London that produces these amazing talents?
You know what it is? I think for me, in my opinion, yeah, and I remember growing up, and you know what it's like? It's like football in an aspect gives you a get out of jail card, you know, and it's almost like no matter what area or what environment you're on, if you're a baller or you're known for playing football, you don't really see trouble or anything outside of, I just want to go to that pitch and play football. So that was always my mentality. I didn't really care what's happening outside of what I need to do, which is playing football. And I think every young aspiring footballer shares that same ethos. So you can only imagine in South London, you've got Catford Pits, you've got like in Southwark, you've got Tabard, you know, you've got, you know, in Peckham, you've got Tech. So these are all places, they're already hostile environments anyway.
Yeah.
So you can only imagine when you get there and all these other ballers or aspiring footballers or little brothers and older brothers and people go there, there's no referees, you police your own games, and you're literally locked in that little cage or that little pitch, and everyone wants to win and show other people that, raw, hold on, like, I'm the guy, or like, I'm the one, this is why I play for a pro team, or this is why I need to be doing. And one thing you'll find, even from young, when we was at academies or playing, when I wasn't even at academies, I used to turn around and say to myself, raw, like, he's at Arsenal, he's at Chelsea, like, man's better. Like, and whereas people don't realise how small this network of South London is, everyone knows everyone, or everyone might know someone that knows somebody anyway. So you go to other areas and play each other, and it's like, when you're on that pitch and people are expressing themselves and doing things, obviously when you get into the program, it's different. But no one turning around and saying, "Oh my God, give me the ball," or "Do this," you're just free there. So obviously, how it is in East, North, or West London, but I'll say that that's been happening over a period of years. And obviously now it's grown in regards to a lot of these young boys from the ends going and playing in Champions Leagues and going and playing in the Premier League and going across Europe, because all you need is 1 or 2 people to open that door, which obviously the likes of, for example, Jadon Sancho has gone and done. He's made other people, not only in the ends in South London, but across the whole of Europe, let alone the world, believe that, raw, hold on, you're someone that can go and show perseverance, move away from your family home, really focus and tap in. Because my thing is, how many of these young talents are coming from where we're coming from? And my thing is, these lot still come back. Or in my time, when we used to go capture pits, and I see people like Jason Punchin and Paulo Vanazza, and they had like an all-star older vets team, and I'm like, raw, like, these men are doing mad things. So when I get Daniel Johnson that plays at Preston now, and he's like, raw, like, Sway, like, we need you to come play at the back. I already know what we're walking into. So my mentality from that phone call was, all right, you know what? Like, this is where man has to like do my thing as well, innit? And I think it's just transpired through generations and obviously age groups and that as well. And these lot are really expressing themselves, man.
Yeah, man, 100%. And just an extension of that question, obviously, like I said, we produce a lot of talent. But what I found in my personal time is some of the most talented players I've met never make that transition from, you know, like from grassroots football to the pro game. Why do you think that is? Like, what are the obstacles, or what are the reasons why some of the most talented players are not able to make that jump?
Do you know, I think, again, in my own opinion, it comes down to mentality, man. And the reason why I say mentality is, like, you see, when you've got talent, you may not work as hard as you should be, if that makes sense. Or sometimes when you're gifted or things come natural, you don't really grasp or understand the other side. So, for example, I was always hardworking, but I was never talented. And through my own determination and grit, and obviously other stuff that I had in regard to my mentality and my situation, I managed to persevere across all these other players that had the good quality as well. And like, we both know people from the end that probably should have never ever have been like playing amateur football or Sunday league or grassroots, and you'd be like, raw, like, why did he not make it as a pro? My thing is, he make enough sacrifices in his life. You know, did he social distance himself? Hypothetically speaking, from the people he knew was doing wrong. Did he have resilience in regards to, all right, cool, being a footballer ain't just about, okay, yeah, it sounds good, but I have to take the necessary steps and processes. So, for example, when I traveled to Lincoln, my first day staying in some farm or like staying somewhere else, I couldn't afford the hotel in the centre. But what I managed to do from my money that I saved up at Bromley, I booked like a £30 motel or something that was an hour and a half outside of Lincoln. I found out what bus route goes to the training ground. It took me an hour and 20 minutes. My first day in there, no one knew that. I didn't say that to anyone. That's only because, like, you got to realize, growing up, like, your parents, or some people's parents, especially Africans, they're always working or they're always out the house. So your interaction with football is, oh yeah, mum, I'm going football. Yeah, cool, no problem. Or, dad, yeah, I'm going football. So I didn't really have that experience in my mum and dad taking me football every single time. So for me to go and do that, it was something that was normal anyway. So my is the talented person gonna go and come outside of London and travel 5 hours to go Newcastle, or 5 hours to go to a conference team off his own back? Then when he gets, he's still gonna tap in and be like, raw, flipping out, I'm tired. But now you got to work hard, because everybody at that level is talented. So these are things psychologically. It kind of comes down to your experience, man, and what you're exposed to, not only as a player as well, but what type of person you are, you know.
Yeah, no, 100%. I agree with you. And you basically summarized my next question as well, because I was going to ask, like, what are the fine margins between obviously like a pro and semi-pro or grassroots? But you pretty much covered.
No, to be fair, it's a good question. Do you know why I'll say it's even though the majority of my senior appearances were all in a football league, and when I dropped down into lower level football, automatically I knew what I had to do in order to get through certain games as well. So being a professional, what people don't realize, and I know it's cliche in saying, but it's literally the fine detail. And even at Sunday league level, like when you guys probably heard me speaking, but my thing, all you have to do is do your job. As a centre back, all you have to do is defend. I'm not really at that level that we're playing at. I'm not really expecting you to pick up mad passes and do X, Y, and Z, because our captain, our midfielder, OP, he's the reason why you get the ball off the back and start playing. So when you go up the ladder, you get paid to do your job, not anybody else's. If you're playing fullback and you need to bomb up and down and you need to do this and that, of course, do your job, but do things to enable, you know, what's gonna, like, whether it's technique, whether it's quick feet, whether it's agility, whether it's getting around the fullback, whether it's helping out your winger. If you do that very well, then you start climbing up the ladder. So then you go from the Conference South to the Conference. Now, can you do the same thing in the Conference South, in a Conference? The next level, that's League Two. Can you now be consistent and do the same thing in a Conference that you've done, you know, and it keeps going up the ladders. And the more consistent, and this is what players don't understand, or a lot of players I speak to, lower level, don't understand. The more consistent you are within your season and within the games you play, automatically you're going to go up, because the next level is, if you get that opportunity, you already know what you need to do. So how many players do we know that, all right, they're playing, let's just say at step 6 or step 7, and yeah, they're doing sick and they're scoring 1 or 2 goals, but if you're really that good and you're a striker, you need to be hitting 20s, 25s, 30s in them leagues just to get noticed. Then you need to know, and not even a striker, but if you're a defender, okay, how many clean sheets have you kept over a season? Oh yeah, by the way, Moses, or you're fresh, yeah, like I've kept 10 clean sheets, but you're at the bottom of the league. That don't make sense. So my thing is, how are you now as a centre-back, not only going to affect your position, how are you affecting the team? Because that should affect and reflect what league position you're in. Just like if you're in step 6 or step 7, you're on a top 5 team, if you're turning around and telling us that, yeah, I've kept 20 clean sheets, or I've got X amount of assists, or I've banged in 20 goals, I can now, well, people will take you seriously, because they're going to be like, right, you know what? They're either going to get promoted or they're going to go out automatic. And he's been a significant part of their development. So when someone sends in their YouTube clips and their videos, I'm going to be like, you know what? That makes sense. But whilst you're on a shitter, and like even this, when I was a pro at Lincoln, the same thing happened. We had a sick young team, but we was like mid-table. So yeah, we had good players and players from United and Villa on loan, but it wasn't reflecting where we was finishing in games. And these are games we're going into. For 70 minutes, we'll play sick. Yeah, you are doing your thing. Last minute, one of the young boys, even including myself, it's that moment where you switch off. Oh, bang, fucking hell, man, 1-0. All that, it matters. So again, like the reason why I'm explaining it, it relates to our level that we're at now in regards to Sunday League and the information I give them. And that game, and like what I said and why I was so pissed, these guys have been here in the situation before, because they have a year ahead of us. So they know who they're playing against. We don't. So we can't be and fall into little traps and think, we're 2-0 up. Guess what? It's roses. Let's start doing these same passes, because once you're playing, there's so much that goes on in your head, you start forgetting what your job is. Oh, we're 3-0 up. You know what? Let me take an extra touch. And this is what happens with lower level players or amateur players, man.
No, 100%. And just to touch on that game, because that's probably one of the best performances on a Sunday I've seen. But it doesn't make sense, because when people look at the result, they'll be like, they lost though. But we always say that Rocker performance, despite the loss, was very impressive. It was probably one of the best performances we've seen this season in terms of performance. But again, we're in a results business where you're going to be judged on results at the end of the day.
And you're not to add to your point, and it's a good thing that you brought it up, because my whole thing has been, okay, even though it's Sunday, but what goes into the preparation of that game? So if I can carry the same mentality I had as a professional with 100 and God knows what appearances I've had at a professional level, I can now give over this tactical information to players. If they understand it and they believe in what I'm trying to say, they're going to do it reflected in the game in parts anyway. So one thing you have in our league and at our level is teams talk every single day of the week. We're going to do this and we beat you and we beat that. But my thing is, fair enough, okay, we haven't beat SC Dons. They've beat us every time. But they win the league by doing it. And if they did win, what league did they win? Because there's a difference winning the Championship and there's a difference winning the Premier League. Or for example, we beat Portland once and we drew them the second time. So in regards to a head-to-head, we took 4 points off them. But my thing is, what does that mean when we haven't won the league? Or when, even though the season's been void, but the only talking we should be doing as a team is, okay, at the end of the season, when we play 20 games, where have we finished? And those games where you're going to get the draw at Portland that are going to be more important than going and losing against Bickley, when we can, that could be another point, if that makes sense as well. So you'll see, back to my point, the game that you watched as well, we're coming into this league as the rookies, if this was basketball, you know what I mean? So really going to be decided. Like, no one's really got an excuse next year, you know. And obviously, there's pressure on every team because literally every team's good in the league, even the ones that are lower down, man.
Yeah, no, 100%. And that message you've just given me was kind of a similar vibe I got from one of your new signings when I watched him on the Rocker Seniors live with Harry Pinero. Is it Xavier Vidal? Yeah. And he pretty much said, look, it's not about the talking on the Twitter and timeline. We know what we can do, and we just want to go and do this and let the results do the speaking. So it's pretty much a similar message that you're putting out there as well. I want to touch on DC Football Academy. I was talking to Dylan yesterday on a similar meeting, and he was telling me about your involvement within the academy and the link between Rocker Seniors and DC Football Academy. So if you're able to elaborate on that collaboration and what they're doing and how you see Rocker fitting into what they're doing as well.
Yeah, man, I think, you know what, collectively, whether it's myself with the stuff that I'm doing, Rocker and DC, it's about everyone sharing the same values and ethoses in regards to what are we actually doing this whole thing for, if that makes sense.
100%.
What is Rocker have junior teams, under 12s, 13s, 14s, 15s, 16s, where the seniors. DC Academy has an under 19s team, A and B team as well.
Yeah.
But the difference with them is they've got a college education program. They've done a partnership with Brentford, and obviously I sponsor them. Yeah. So players have a pathway into playing at a very good level, playing against professional clubs and semi-professional teams, and having pathways through. For example, part of my company is to provide mentorships, not only for players as well, but, you know, how much more paid coaches can I turn around and say, you know what, if you want to go and be a Rocker coach or you want to go be a coach at DC, I can afford to pay you for your hour or 2 hours. So you get money in your pocket and the players get the development. Or for example, you know, with DC Academy, they're in that very niche age group in regards to being between, I think, 18 to 23 as well, which are very crucial ages in football. So for the ones that do kick on and realize and utilize everything around them as well, it comes back to ethos and values. Just like in regards to Rocker, can some of the Rocker players go and become the next Abraham and the next Ibby? Because we've had, in our first season, 2 players go from playing with us to now one plays at Charlton, who's already made his debut, and one has now signed or is about to sign professional forms at Reading. So my thing is, we don't have to brag and boast about these things, but everything we do in regards to what we're trying to do collectively as a community, it has to make sense. And I always turn around and say, it's a lot bigger than football, man. Like, everyone that gets this football thing twisted needs to realize how many players actually go have careers. And I'm not talking about signing a pro today and making 1 or 2 appearances at Crystal Palace or Charlton. Then next week you're in non-league and you're playing 3 or 4 games. Then next week, the other time, you've gone down to step 5 and step 6, and you keep going down. And before you know it, at the end of the season, you've already been to 5 clubs.
Yeah,
that's not a career. And the reason why there may be an imbalance is because of the people and the environment you're around. So between the 3 of us, myself, Rocker, and obviously DC, how many more young people can we interact from our community and turn around and try and make them better people within their things? Because not everyone's going to make it at football, man.
100%.
And especially whereas we've got so much business acumen within our own organization. You know, one of our players has a construction company. One of our players or our ex-managers, he's going to become an architect with his own company. You know, I've got the mentorship and the sports side of things. You know, one of our players does workshops and kitchens. He developed one of my properties, you know, and the other person in my team is the one that built us a house, or renovated, done a whole brand new renovation. So if our players come into our system across DC, Rocker, and the stuff that I'm doing, how much more people can I now turn around and say, could you become an apprentice? Could you do some form of work? Could we now collectively as an organization, as a community group, engage with our community and turn around and say, this is what we're able to provide. So I've done another partnership with the DWP, so the pension people or the job seeker people. So they said there's obviously not a lot of Black, Asian minorities, or they call it BAME, that have no one's getting jobs. So when I spoke to them about the stuff that we're doing, They've now got apprenticeships for Barclays, you know, Hilton Hotels. And my thing is just get them in the door, because what football will do with you, it gives you certain skill sets, working in teams, knowing how to talk. If you watch my interview that I done with one great guy, Wayne Cahill, yesterday, who's going to be so important for Man United and their development as well. He turned around and I said to him, I remember a player coming in on loan, and I was like, why is this guy different, bro? Like Chris, what's wrong with you? And he's like, right, Man United, this is what they teach us. This is when I was 19, by the way.
Yeah.
So imagine now I'm 31 and I'm now connected back with the elite and I'm understanding their values and things like that. Wayne's now telling me, even if you don't become a Man United player, we still want you to be better people in society anyway.
Wow.
And I've been to Man United 4 times and, you know, spoken to their head of developments and the people that are integral in their academy. So if I've been going in and out of these academies for the past 4 years with my expertise and my knowledge, imagine what I'm able to provide back to my community. And I can show them the video that, you know, you've probably seen yesterday in full. I can sit down with them and tell them this is the pathway. I can turn around and say, you know, we've got a mentor coming in, you know, Nathaniel Klein, Victor Moses, Wilfred Zaha, just to name like a few names because of our network. So what I'm trying to do is make not only more players open their eyes up to the opportunities that are there, but for the ones which are 99% and it's the majority that ain't going to make it, can we now at least get you working jobs so you can look after your family, go and look after your mum, you know, go and get yourself on a housing market, you know. For example, how many times when we was younger, we didn't know about property or houses and, you know, X, Y, and Z, but, you know, there's some great people in the council. You just got to know the right ones in every industry, if I'm being honest. And my thing is that can be networking, you know, that can be just, you know, you being enthusiastic, but if you don't know the right people in the right places, how are you going to make an impact not only in your community but in the stuff that you're trying to do, you know, which is that's where the penny drops, man. You have to know the right people not only in life, but you have to connect with them. And obviously with me, they know my story. And like Wayne said yesterday, when I asked him, you know, what did he think of my session that we done there? I went into United after they played PSG, by the way. And I remember that day, the young boys got on, Chong done well, Rashford scored. He was Rashford's old teacher. And these are like 4 of them sat in my session. I was thinking, raw, like, you managers play PSG, why are you coming in? They're like, raw, like, we have to, innit? Then they're teaching them about, you know, drugs and county lines, drug lines at Man United Football Club. And I'm like, raw, why are they learning that? Yeah. And the coaches are telling me that we're trying to, because football's a bubble, we're trying to tell them what it's going to be like in the real world when the bubble pops. Wow. So imagine Swaibu. I thought I was in a bubble at Crystal Palace and my bubble pops very early and I realised straight away, when you're playing top flight football at an elite club, at Man United, the reason why I even had that conversation with, when I went in there the first time, and obviously I went in there the 4th time, which was before Corona, the same people ain't there, bro. And the ones that are there now, that are playing first team, the first year I went there, they already told me who's going to do what and who's going to be where and, you know, who's the next whatever. So I was like, right, you know what? Before you even know it, any club you go into, my point is to anybody that's going to watch this video that's aspiring to be a footballer or wants to get into football, look at their elite and what they're doing and what they need to be able to do to understand their values, understand who they are, be consistent, deal with pressure every single day of the week. So for me, like anyone that wants to get into this industry, you have to be effing relentless, bro. Yeah. Your perseverance and what you have to do within yourself, you have to turn around and say, do you want to be a footballer and it sounds good? Or do you want to be a footballer and like literally, if you need to, cut everything else off you're doing? How many of you are actually waking up 6, 7, 8, 9 at playing at step 6, 7 or whatever it's called, going out there with your ball? Yeah. I know who's doing what because I speak to them. Yeah. And the difference is we now have case studies of 2 people that have come from Deptford that never took football serious at 2 in and all these other places, and look at where they are now, man.
Yeah, that's powerful. Like literally everything you just said there was blowing my mind as you were saying it, because it's mad, because when you think about football and professional football, there's a very, very big misconception about what being a professional football actually is. I think a lot of people and kids to see it as, you know, you train, you play football and you get loads of money and you live a lavish lifestyle and that's all it is. But it's very important that obviously people like you to show the other side of what it takes to be a professional footballer. Like they said, the pressure, the consistency, and the understanding. So that's massive. But I'm gonna go back onto.
I know I might ramble on here, but I wanted to get this point across because in me explaining, this level of football, which is at the highest and it's the elite, what people don't realize is there's another world, what goes on behind the scenes that ain't out in the public, that will never get out there, that, it's not really good or it's not a good look on, the people that should be educating and policing football in that aspect. And even in our sessions, just to bring up what I do in context, we deal with a lot of the issues behind the scenes in football, betting, match fixing, a few safeguarding issues. Now, a lot of the players are asking about finance, so on and so forth. So the repercussions from what I went to prison with and our case has changed the whole law in regards to how the FA deal with their litigation and their legal stuff as well. And for example, players, and that you would have seen Daniel Sturridge's story, innit, with him getting banned. Yeah. And obviously, I think someone's put on a bet for him. His name got thrown in a hat. He got a ban. Yeah. So imagine now from our case and our story, if you're not able to report certain things in football, and me and you can play for the same team. So let's just say, for argument's sake, it's Millwall. Yeah. If you're in my team and, you say, oh, by the way, I bet you can hit the crossbar and I'll give you £20 if you've hit the crossbar. If the FA found out about it, it's so stupid. If the FA found out about it, yeah, you're going to get some form of ban or some form of penalty. Or for example, so many players are earning so much money now. Yeah. They're sponsored by betting companies. Obviously the FA don't endorse betting, but yeah, these men don't realize the laws of what you can and can't bet on. Yeah. So imagine now you find your first year pro and you're on £5,000 a week and, you're like, oh, let me do an accumulator. Yeah. Then you start turning around and saying, oh yeah, you know what, to your teammates, X, Y, and Z. Because you haven't reported what you're betting on, you can face a 3 or 6 month ban. And these are things that happen to this day. They're just not made public, innit? So a lot of the stuff that we're involved with as well, my whole thing has been from the beginning I came out of prison that no one can't really go down or have the experience that I've been through, because I can prevent it if you see my story and understand the facts of actually what happened, and it's been a significant change in not only with the Premier League, but Wayne touched upon it in regards to their life skills and stuff as well. So it comes back to my thing is, even though I haven't played Premier League football and had 165 league appearances there, everyone needs to understand that you can all make some form of change or make some form of difference from you playing football, regardless whether it's Sunday League, at Urfreshtv, whether it's with Rocker Seniors, whether it's with SE Dons, Kenninwell. You all have a platform now, especially where there's a light shone on you, to go and do great things, which everyone's doing. So my thing is, you know what? Yeah, we want to win the league and we want to do these things, but that's all well and good, but it don't change people's lives, So how many lives can we change together? My thing is, it's always better working in partnerships and working together and putting some form of structure than working in yourself and saying, yeah, man, I'm Moses, so I want to do this myself, because I'll never be in a position that I'm in if I never had the right people around me, man.
Massive. That's powerful again, man. And just while we're talking about football all levels and Sunday League, and you mentioned that 2 players that had played for Rocker Seniors are now playing at a professional level. I know Rising Ballers do a similar thing where they've got players playing for them and they go to professional level. How long do you think it is until Sunday League football becomes, I want to say prominent, but like one of the first places people look at to identify talent? Because obviously I know the non-league scene, they're known for churning out players that go from that scene to pro. But Sunday League scene now seems like players are a lot more content to play there and happy to play there. There's a lot more light in terms of documentation being shone on it, and I feel like it's a better place to express yourself. I mean, people like you, when I heard you on the sideline giving information you was given, I've come from a semi-pro environment where you wouldn't even get that type of information. It's more about the results. I feel like in the non-league world, it's more about getting the result rather than player development. Whereas I feel like you're developing players whilst trying to get results, and I think they're 2 separate things. So how long do you reckon How long do you reckon it will be before the Sunday League circuit becomes a place where it's regularly turning out professional, like from grassroots to professional?
Yeah, man. I think when not even with Sunday League, but to answer your question, 100% is going to happen. And the reason why I say that, the power of social media is immense. And when you've already got professional players endorsing Sunday League and talking about it, and putting their little twist on it, and you have teams that are selling out stadiums and having more fans than even some professional teams get at lower level too, and even some teams in the conference, people are already paying an eye to it and they're saying why, and they're going to ask a question. So I'll give you an example. I done a podcast, I think, a year ago with Steve McKim, Jamie Lawrence, and the Welling assistant manager, and my good friend Damien Scannell. And one of the questions was, it was about Sunday League, and obviously, players sending in videos. And Steve was like, to be honest, his normal job is a cab driver, which is his first primary source of income, and his second job is the Tunbridge manager job. Yeah. So these clubs at their level, and this is Conference South, by the way, haven't got the time to be going to watch games and haven't got money to be allocated to scouting departments. So I can't physically turn around from my generation and say, I'm going to watch a YouTube clip and see stepovers and stuff. But then again, if he comes in and he does well, I've only got a squad of 16 to work with. So he said his opinion. I'm not agreeing with him and I'm not disagreeing with him. But if you put it into today's context, coronavirus is obviously going to change football for the better in regards to a lot more players are getting opportunities, and I think teams will start looking lower down to try and unearth and find these gems, because there's a system that currently works. And if you're a manager now that's stuck on a budget and players are getting released and people's contracts ain't gonna get renewed, you start looking lower down. And the more noise Sunday League starts making, like it has been, a lot of people are going to get opportunities. And I think rising ballers are advocates for, even I don't know them personally, but I know some of the stuff and they've got that coach. What they're doing is amazing, because young players now that come out of an academy system, if I was young and I was that age again, I'll go straight to rising ballers. I'll go straight to a DC. I'll go straight to a rocker, because they have a system in place that is designed for you to go and prosper. So we're not turning around and saying, oh, by the way, come play Sundays and sign a 5-year contract. Yeah. We're saying, come play Sundays, that just like what Xavier done, fall in love with football again, enjoy your football, then kick on. Yeah. That's what we want to do. We're not saying stay here, bro. Like, you know what I mean? Football's always going to be here, but the players get older and go into other things. But can you now come into our system, help us grow, help Sunday League grow, help grassroots grow? Because everything's a case study, man. And look how many case studies rising ballers have. Yeah. The Fulham under-23s manager, Colin, he has something called Junior Elite. And I remember 15 years ago, obviously this is incredible. Yeah. It was the same scenario, amateur, started it off. The majority of his players went to Palace and other teams, went and had professional careers. And to this day, they're still going strong. I think Smith Rowe made his debut. Basaka's come from that academy. They have the other young centre-back at Manchester United as well. So there's always an eye that's been put on it. But there weren't no social media, back then. Yeah. So for me, it's so important. And this is why, when I spoke to you, I was like, you know what, I want to do this with you, because you guys are going to be the benchmark for monopolising not only Sunday League, but everyone across. And you got to realise the fact that we was your first game. Yeah. I see on Twitter teams are upset and they're like, why aren't you promoting me? And why aren't you shouting out? And why aren't you doing this? Because people are paying attention. And the more people are paying attention, the more people want to come on your platform. And the more people are going to be like, hold on, I want Urfreshtv to film our games and show this. I want to start doing interviews. So you guys almost become the match of the day for what, Sunday League is. And obviously, the Bromley League is the best league that I know that's currently out there, from my own opinion and my own experience. So you guys are covering that amazingly. And what people need to understand, whilst you're building and you've got a small team, you can't be everywhere. So you just got to bear your time. And my thing is, everyone's going to reap the benefits and rewards, just like everyone's already, without sounding like a hater, if they're going to be honest, everyone's reaped the benefits and the rewards for the platform SE Dons have set and the benchmark. So they've set it and other people come through. So my thing is, sometimes it's not necessarily where you start, but where your end goal is.
Yeah.
So when you guys get them big contracts with Sky, or when you guys go and, you know, into them corporate offices and they understand your business plan and they see the numbers of what you guys have been putting up, the rest is history, because it could be you guys that could, you know, help the whole thing bust, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, my thing is Gary Neville hit the nail on the head, to answer your question again, when it was like, where do you see football going now? Everything's content. Everything's content. You look at one of my favorite shows on YouTube, I think Chunks and Philly.
Yeah,
Them man going to very different clubs every day, busting banter. You know, it's entertaining. Or for example, one of my other friends, my ex-teammates, Donny, Medi Elito, he's a baller, but he's interviewing ballers. And one thing you realize when you speak to footballers, they're more open with natural things.
Yeah.
So if you had a footballer on your show, they're going to be open with you because they're not backed by a corporate entity that's going to chat shit and misquote them. I think 360 on Instagram, they do it. My friend Joel Bay at Cheeky Sport, he does it. The Beautiful Game podcast, you know, they had John Joe Shelby and all these things. So it's natural.
Yeah.
So you have to realize that all these corporates and these top people sitting in their executive rooms are thinking, hold on, we're old. You know, we want the young people. We've got all the finance and everything behind that, but you have the audience and the market. And my thing is, I will never be able to do the stuff I'm doing if the people or the executives of the PFA never gave me that platform. Yeah. And one thing you find, you have to bang down these doors. And like I said, when I was speaking to my mate Reese for his finance thing, I was like, sometimes you may need to open one door yourself for 2, 3, 4 to follow. And once you start going down that system and pattern, no one can stop you, man. Yeah. And you just got to make sure that no matter what you do, and this is for everyone, no matter whether it's football, work, business, whatever you're trying to do, and especially in coronavirus, trying to work things out, I always relate everything I do to me not making it to the Premier League, or, you know, even though I had a career, but let me take myself back to when I was 16 and when I was hungry, or when I was traveling from Croydon to Hainault to go play for Surrey, or when I was traveling to Birmingham on my own for away games, or when I was coming back from Lincoln at 4 a.m. because I needed to come back to London just to get stuff done. So put yourself in that mentality and that mind frame, man. And the power of knowledge, wisdom, and sharing it, and even reading a book. I never used to read books, but like I said at the beginning of the conversation, when I went to jail and I had my reset, the rest is history, man.
Yeah, that's part. Again, man, like on a level, like all jokes aside, this has been a very, very, very insightful and powerful interview for me, because obviously I knew all the things you was doing within the community. I knew a bit about your history in terms of your professional football career. But just to speak to you is very inspiring, because, you know, you actually get the bigger picture, and the way that you're so open and you allow the information to be put out there. There's a lot of people that will hear this, and it will inspire them, it will motivate them, it will give them information they never had. So again, I can only thank you again for being so open and honest, man. I think that's where I'm going to end the interview, because I thought we covered everything I wanted and more.
I appreciate it, man. Honestly, and I think just to put some context into what you guys are doing, man, it's absolutely amazing. And I've seen not only yourselves grow, but I remember I was thinking to myself, going back again, without even trying to sound too repetitive, but I was like, fuck, man, that game hurt me so much, it affected my whole week. And I remember the only thing I could think of, I was like, bro, I remember the mixed race guy and the other guy standing on the side watching it. I was like, bro, like, I can't turn around and shake people's hands and, you know, be a good person when, because of my moment of madness, like, hold on a minute, well, like, let me try and get their numbers. And obviously that's when we connected and started speaking and that as well. But it just goes to show how real Sunday League and what we're trying to do collectively together. And it just goes to show that your Urfreshtv and the stuff and the content that you're putting out, like, people, trust me, man, I've spoken to plenty of pros and people in the business world about what you guys are doing, which obviously you already know. So keep going, keep flying up, man.
I appreciate it. And just for the record, to go back to that day, like, we was never really offended by you, because we know that losing a game, like, I've been there, like, losing is like one of my, I hate losing. So nothing I took personally. And again, to go back, you were one of the first people that reached out and showed support, if I'm honest with you, like, in terms of just a message to say, like, wow, what you guys are doing is really big, keep it up. And you obviously apologized, and the fact that you're doing this interview now is testament to your character and what you represent, because we're trying to represent the community, we're trying to represent the people, give them a voice. and also the young inspiring footballers. And even like you said, if it's not a case of them turning professional, education programs like what DC, the academy are doing, just to turn them into better men or give them a career within football. You don't have to be necessarily playing, but you could be a coach, you can be a aspiring manager or other things. So again, I really do thank you, because I feel like you've supported us from day one. As much as you probably look back and be like, right, I aired them at the game or whatever, we never took that personally at all, man. And like, you've been one of the first people to reach out and say, yo, keep doing what you're doing. And again, like, thank you for coming on the show and just giving us your insight, man.
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate you guys for having me on, man. Honestly, man.
Yeah, man. Love, man. Take care. I'm gonna just end this up now, man. Take care.
All right, then, bro. All right, thank you, man.
In a bit.
All right, bye.